Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Kaylin Alexander and I am the president of UNCC Psych-Hi.
Hi, I'm Notoria. I'm the secretary of UNCC Psych-Hi.
Today we are celebrating World Mental Health Day. We will be showing you guys how to do some fun, relaxing activities, and we will talk about what self-care looks like for us and what it is or what we do to take care of ourselves. So thanks for joining us on this adventure. We've never done either of these activities before, and we've never really filmed a video before. So thanks for joining us, and let's go make a chunky blanket. Hi everyone, thanks again for joining us. So before we start, as far as what you need for the blanket, you are just gonna buy any chunky yarn that you can find. So we got ours at Walmart, and I'm pretty sure you can find it at any arts and crafts store. You need about 5 whole things, 5 of these for a long blanket. We only got 2, so I made a very small blanket. So the first thing you're gonna do is create a loop. You can wrap it around your hand or you can just make one. Basically, you want the shorter part to be underneath the over part. The longer part, I'm sorry. You want the longer part to be over the shorter part. What you're going to do is make that loop and then bring the longer piece of yarn into the loop, pull it out, and then up at the top you're going to pull so that it makes a knot. So you end up with just one loop, a shorter piece of yarn and a longer piece of yarn. And you can make the loop smaller or bigger by pulling on the longer piece. And you just want to start with one loop. So now that you have your loop, you can take the longer piece of yarn, pull it through that loop, and you're going to create 2 loops. So they look like eyes or an infinity sign, and you want them to be about the same size. I know it can be tempting to make it really tight in the loops, but that creates problems later on because you want a loop so you can create a more well-defined blanket. So you're going to do that again and again for about 15 to 25 pieces. And again, you want the loops to be about the same size, so I tend to just make sure that at least 3 fingers can fit in them. And then moving on, loops. And I know it can be really confusing, and the first time I made it, I got really stressed about making sure the loops were the same size. But I think it's really just about being patient with yourself and understanding that this is the first time you've done it. So you might make mistakes, you might undo it, which this blanket's very easy to unravel and restart, which almost makes it pretty helpful because if you don't like the way it's going, you can just redo it pretty easily. So I'm gonna stop there and then I'll show you how to do the second row. So this is my first row. I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's do 10. I have about 10 loops. So to move on to your second row, you want to make an extra loop at the end, and rather than going further to the right, you're going to pull it so that it's going up, and that's going to start your second row. And then what I like to do is move my yarn. So because I'm now going to be moving and making my blanket to the left, my yarn is going to move to the left with me. That way it's not going in the opposite direction. So what you're going to do is to make your second row, you want another loop up like this. You're going to find the next part in your previous loops and pull the yarn through. So you're making a loop. So again, you're finding another part in the previous loops that you made on the first level or first row, and you're going to pull the yarn through and make a loop. So you want to do as many loops as on your second row as you had on your first row. And I might have miscounted, so let's see how many I end up with. And again, I know it is tempting to make it a tight loop or a small one, but the bigger they are isn't necessarily better, but you do want to make it loose so that you can find them later on and you can continue your blanket pretty easily. Again, you want well-defined loops. I'm just going to go all the way back. Alright, and I think I've reached the end right here. Okay, So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 loops. Oops. So this is your second row, your first row, and your second row. And you're basically going to do, to start your third row, or whatever the next row is, you're going to do the exact same thing that you did on the other side. And you're going to make an extra loop, and it's going to be pointing up. So this is when I would move the yarn again, because you want it in the direction that you're making the loops. And you started your third row. So you'll go back into those loops and make more loops. So lots of loops, lots of fruit loops. And basically, you'll just do the same thing. So if you started with 10 at the bottom, you'll end up with 10 rows all the way throughout. And I think the recommended is 15 to 25. And you'll basically just do that all the way up. So then is my second try, and it looks so good. The first one is a bit of a mess, and I'll show you guys in a second. So as you can tell, this is my first layer that I showed you guys earlier. And like I said, you just continue connecting the loops and creating more loops, and you end up going all the way down. Eventually, if you did it wider, you would go as long as you wanted to make a blanket of your choosing, however long you want it, however wide you want it. I made it much smaller because it was easier for me to control. And then one tip I wanted to show you guys is if you ever want to change colors, you can basically just tie the two ends together, and it melds pretty easily into the next color. So right here, it just goes instantly from blue to red. Over here, you can see it a little bit, but we're not going to look at that. Anyway, so to finish it, it is a little confusing, so bear with me, and we're gonna go, so you're gonna take the two end loops, so 1 and 2, and you're gonna take the inside loop, the one that's closer to the other end of the blanket, and you're gonna pull it through the outside loop. So again, the inside loop of the 2, pull it through the outside loop. So this inside loop is now the outside loop, and what you're going to do is put this loop down. You're going to take the excess string or yarn that you have, and you're going to make another loop as if you were making another layer. And then you're going to take this loop that you just made, you're going to pull it through that outside loop again, and this is now the outside loop. So again, you can put this one down since you're done with it, and you're going to move on to the next open loop. So you're going to take the excess yarn, the rest of it, you're going to make another loop as if you're making another layer like you've done all along, and you're going to pull that one through the outside one. So again, take the extra loop, make another one as if you're making a new layer, and then pull it. It's going to become the outside loop, and you're going to put the other one down. And basically what you're doing is closing off the outside of that blanket, so you can see it's closing it off. You don't have any openings, it's not going to unravel. So again, take that next loop. There's so many loops in these blankets. It's going to create a new one, pull it through, make it the outside one. So you're going to do that all the way across. Let me finish these real quick. And like so. Oh, I did that too far out. We're doing great. This is great. Alright. So basically what you're going to end up with is a little knot on the end, or that's what I ended up with. You can always move it down and tie it down further if you want to. I know I saw that in another video as well. If you wanted to just tie it off down here, that would work too. Or what you can do is, because you tied it off up here, you would just cut off the excess. So whatever works. But basically, you closed off the blanket. This is my finished product. It is not even. And then, like I said earlier, it's easy to unravel. So if you ever want to change it, you could always untie this and go back down a few lengths. I'll probably add more red to it later. But this is the finished product. It's very soft. It's very small. This is a baby blanket. It's definitely not what you'll see online. You can make it as long or as wide as you want it. I did this for ease because the smaller it is, the easier it is.
Hi guys, so now we're moving on to the sensory water bottles, which are also known as the calming water bottles, and they're really good for kids especially, but also adults, to help with their emotions and to help their breathing. This is an example of one that Kaylin and I made. It's really cute. So I'm going to show you, tell you the materials that you need. So you're going to need a empty water bottle, which it still has water in it, just ignore that. You can add some food coloring, which this isn't food coloring, but it still worked. But you're gonna need some kind of coloring. Clear glue. Anything that you want to put in there. We got some confetti glitter, and all of this we bought at Walmart. You can probably find it at Target. Some glitter, and just like little things that you want to put inside of the bottle. So yeah, so let me show you how to make. So the first step is to fill up your water bottle halfway with water, and then if you want to, you can add your coloring in. So once you add in your food coloring, you can it's optional, but it does make it look really pretty. You just want to shake it up so that the coloring and the water mix properly. Okay, once you have added your glitter, the next step is to add your glue. So that's how this one is looking. So again, you want to use a clear glue. You don't want to use the regular white glue. So let's do that. So the thing with the glue, after you put your glitter in there and everything, you can add how much glue that you want. Like if you want the glitter and the little fun objects that we're going to add in there to move slower, you can put more glue, or if you want it to move faster, you don't put a lot of glue. So you just squeeze how much you want in there. I think it's cooler if it moves a little slower. Okay. Then you can have add some fun little objects, like we have some stars. So we're gonna add some of those. Okay, so now we're gonna add in some of these little balls. Then once you have added everything that you want into your sensory bottle, you want to fill it all the way up to the top with water, and then after that you want to take some of your glue, put it inside of the cap to glue your lid shut so that you do not have any messes or things like that, and we'll be back to see how this one turned out. Okay, now that you have glued your lid on shut, let's see how it turns out. This one's a little bit harder to see because it's a little darker, but you can kind of see it. And this is the first one. I'll show you the first one that we made. So yeah, this is really helpful. Maybe if you get stressed or you just need to calm down. This also, thinking about it, can make you more mindful. You're focusing on one thing. So we did have a meeting about that 2 weeks ago almost. So please go back and watch that. They had very helpful, Chip had very helpful information. Okay, so now that we did some cool little fun DIY activities for you guys, we really wanted to do something different other than having a speaker. We're going to talk about some self-care tips just because it's more, we need it more now with COVID and everything and classes being all online, so you have even more stressors. So make sure that you're giving yourself some self-love, some self-care. Do a skincare routine, eat a more mindful meal, turn off the TV, put down your phone and just eat your food and be mindful, like our last speaker said, be more mindful. So my self-care routine, I like to take baths. So it could be a bath, it could be a blackout shower where you turn off the lights in the bathroom and you just take a shower in the dark. Whatever you like, whatever you find enjoyable. But just make sure that you're taking time out of your day, after your classes, after work, to for some self-care, to wind down.
Hi everyone. So as far as self-care, I think the important part of self-care is that it looks different for everybody. So for some people, it could be going for a walk for an hour. It could be listening to a podcast. It could be something healthy and helpful, or something good for you. As for my self-care, I think it can be a hard question to answer as far as what my self-care looks like. I know I tend to overwork myself with school and work, especially during COVID. Every part of life is a little more stressful. So currently, my self-care tends to look like a longer shower, a skin routine, a hair routine. I have a lot of hair to deal with. Or even, like Notoria said, a mindful meal, just the process of cooking something from scratch or making a new recipe and sharing it with my loved ones. So I think self-care is definitely a personal aspect of everyone's lives, and it looks different for everyone. And I think sometimes it can be hard to realize what it is, but I think that it can be harmful also to compare our own self-care routines to others. So whatever your self-care is, as long as it works for you and it's taking time out of the day to recognize how important you are, I think that's what matters. So go on those walks, take those long showers, take that nap, even if it's like a 20-minute nap. Sometimes for me, it's watching a movie that I've wanted to see for a while. So whatever it is, just remember you're important and you're not alone in anything you do. And now I'm going to introduce Notoria. She's going to share some resources for you guys for the semester. Everyone, so like Notoria said, we are looking forward to see everyone at our next meeting. It's planned for October 26th, 2 weeks from today. We're going to be discussing the psychology around politics, how to talk about politics, how to interact with others that have differing views, especially in the world we live in today, and especially in America. There are often a lot of polar opposites when it comes to the viewpoints that surround our politics. So I know it can be hard to have those discussions or those conversations, and it can be hard to even talk to someone that has a different opinion. So we'll be tackling all of that, hopefully. And we look forward to seeing you all later.
Okay. See you guys soon.
Bye.